Most people think tattoos are just art on skin, but psychology tells a very different story. Long before someone notices your voice, your clothes, or even your attitude, they notice the symbols you permanently chose to place on your body. That decision is almost never random. Every line, every shade, every style quietly exposes something hidden beneath the surface. Some tattoos reveal a deep need for control. Others expose emotional chaos that someone tries desperately to hide. Certain designs reflect unresolved heartbreak, while others reveal a craving for freedom, attention, intimacy, or protection. The strange part is that many people do not even realize they are broadcasting these emotional signals to the world. A minimalist tattoo may look simple and clean, but psychologically it often belongs to someone who protects their emotions carefully and avoids vulnerability. These people usually value control, independence, and emotional privacy. They hate feeling emotionally overwhelmed, so they reduce everything in life down to clean lines and simple meaning. Their tattoo style becomes a reflection of how they survive emotionally. Fine line tattoos often reveal something different. Behind those delicate details is usually a person who experiences emotions intensely, but expresses them softly. They notice everything. They replay conversations in their heads. They remember tiny emotional moments that everyone else forgets. Their tattoos are subtle because their emotional world is subtle too. Then there are people drawn toward bold blackwork tattoos. Heavy black ink often represents emotional armor. These individuals usually carry emotional pain, betrayal, anger, or experiences that force them to become mentally tough. The darker the design, the more likely the person values protection over vulnerability. Sometimes the tattoo becomes a shield that hides emotional wounds nobody else can see. Realism tattoos reveal another fascinating psychological pattern. People attracted to highly realistic tattoos are often emotionally attached to memory, identity, and permanence. They fear losing important people, important moments, or important versions of themselves. Their tattoos become proof that something mattered deeply enough to preserve forever. But then there is another category that psychologists find extremely revealing: chaotic tattoos. Random placements, conflicting themes, impulsive designs, and disconnected symbols often point toward emotional restlessness or identity confusion. These people are usually searching for themselves while pretending they already know who they are. Every new tattoo becomes another attempt to understand their own emotions. What makes this even more interesting is that attachment styles often appear through tattoo choices without people realizing it. Avoidant personalities tend to choose emotionally distant symbols, while anxious personalities choose deeply emotional or sentimental imagery. Secure individuals often choose tattoos connected to personal meaning instead of outside validation. And hidden beneath all these styles is one uncomfortable truth that most people never want to admit. Tattoos are rarely only about expression. Sometimes they're about survival. Sometimes they're about reclaiming control after trauma. Sometimes they're about turning pain into identity. And sometimes the tattoo somebody proudly shows the world is actually covering the exact insecurity they hope nobody ever notices. What becomes truly unsettling is when people begin noticing patterns in their own tattoos that match their emotional behavior almost perfectly. Someone who constantly chooses tattoos hidden beneath clothing often carries a personality that fears judgment but still craves emotional recognition. They want their story seen only by the right people. Meanwhile, people who place tattoos openly on their neck, hands, or face are usually sending a completely different psychological message. Deep down, many of them no longer prioritize acceptance. At some point in life, they stopped asking for permission to exist comfortably in the world. Their tattoos become declarations of identity rather than decoration. But the deeper psychologists study tattoo behavior, the more mysterious the connection becomes. People who repeatedly get tattoos during emotionally unstable periods often use the physical pain as emotional regulation. The tattoo session becomes therapeutic because emotional pain suddenly transforms into something visible and controllable. This is why many individuals feel an intense emotional release immediately after getting new ink. The body experiences pain, but the mind experiences relief. And then there are symbolic tattoos connected to spirituality, nature, mythology, or astrology. These designs often belong to people searching for meaning beyond ordinary life. They tend to feel emotionally disconnected from society or misunderstood by the people around them. Their tattoos become personal maps guiding them toward identity, purpose, or emotional grounding. Yet one of the darkest psychological patterns appears in people who become addicted to constantly changing or expanding their tattoos. At first, it looks like creativity or self-expression, but underneath it can reflect something far more emotional. Sometimes the person is trying to escape themselves. Every new tattoo creates temporary excitement, temporary confidence, temporary reinvention. But once the emotional high fades, the emptiness quietly returns. Then another tattoo becomes necessary to recreate the feeling. This cycle mirrors many emotional coping behaviors people never recognize in themselves. What makes tattoo psychology even more fascinating is how often people choose designs that directly contradict their outward personality. Someone who appears emotionally cold may secretly choose deeply sentimental tattoos connected to love, grief, or memory. Someone who acts confident and rebellious may privately select fragile symbols representing abandonment, loneliness, or fear. The tattoo becomes a hidden emotional confession disguised as art. And this is where things become deeply uncomfortable. Many tattoo artists quietly admit they can often predict emotional patterns in clients before conversations even begin. Certain tattoo requests appear repeatedly among people carrying similar emotional wounds. Broken clocks, serpents, ravens, angels, fragmented faces, crying eyes, swords, butterflies, and disappearing figures all tend to connect with very specific emotional states. Even placement matters psychologically. Chest tattoos often connect to emotional protection. Rib tattoos frequently appear in people with high emotional endurance. Sleeve tattoos can reflect identity construction, while spine tattoos often symbolize personal transformation through suffering. None of this means every tattoo has one exact meaning, but human psychology leaves patterns everywhere. The terrifying part is realizing that tattoos may expose truths people spend years trying to hide from themselves. Sometimes the ink reveals emotional needs more honestly than words ever could. And once someone starts recognizing those patterns, they begin seeing them everywhere, not only on strangers, but on themselves too. The most powerful thing about tattoo psychology is not the art itself, but the emotional truth hiding underneath it. Human beings constantly search for ways to make invisible feelings visible, and tattoos become one of the few forms of expression that permanently merge identity with emotion. Every tattoo quietly records a moment in psychological time. Some people mark survival, others mark heartbreak. Some capture freedom, while others attempt to freeze a version of themselves they are terrified of losing. And over time, the body slowly transforms into an emotional autobiography written in symbols instead of words. This is why people often stare at their tattoos during emotionally difficult periods. They're not just looking at ink. They are reconnecting with a version of themselves that once needed strength, healing, rebellion, love, or reinvention. But there is another layer most people never consider. Tattoos do not only reveal who someone is. Sometimes they reveal who someone desperately wants to become. A person covered in fearless imagery may still battle fear privately every single day. Someone wearing symbols of power may secretly struggle with insecurity. Someone choosing chaotic abstract art may actually crave emotional stability more than anything else in life. The tattoo becomes less about current identity and more about emotional aspiration. Psychologists sometimes describe this as symbolic compensation, where external expression attempts to balance internal emotional absence. And once this idea is understood, tattoo culture begins to look completely different. The body becomes a psychological canvas where hidden emotions negotiate with public identity. This explains why tattoo regret can feel emotionally devastating for some people. The regret is rarely only about appearance. It is about realizing a past emotional version of themselves no longer feels true. The tattoo suddenly becomes evidence of an identity they outgrew, a pain they healed from, or a phase they no longer recognize. Yet even unwanted tattoos often continue telling important psychological stories because human identity is built from every version of the self, including the broken ones. Interestingly, people who embrace imperfect or aging tattoos often show stronger emotional acceptance overall. Instead of chasing perfection, they allow their body to evolve naturally alongside their memories and experiences. That acceptance reflects emotional maturity more than aesthetic preference. Meanwhile, people obsessed with endlessly correcting, redesigning, or hiding tattoos may still struggle with self-image, control, or unresolved emotional conflict. In many ways, tattoos expose the lifelong battle between self-acceptance and self-reinvention. And perhaps that is why tattoo culture continues growing across every generation. Beneath the trends, styles, and aesthetics lies a deeply human need to feel understood, remembered, and emotionally real. People want proof that their experiences mattered. They want to carry meaning physically instead of emotionally hiding it forever. In the end, tattoos are not truly about ink at all. They are about identity, memory, fear, healing, attachment, pain, confidence, loneliness, transformation, and the silent psychological stories people carry beneath their skin every single day. If you like our topics, please subscribe. Turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.